Today, we're excited to welcome back to the podcast saxophonist Eric Wyatt. We're excited to have him join us for another great conversation. If you haven't seen his previous episode, be sure to check it out to learn more about his incredible journey. He's got a lot of great, deep insights into this music. And Eric, it's great to have you back. How you been?
How you been, man? How was Europe?
Oh man, it was the first time, so definitely a
Right,
culture shock.
right,
Very
right.
attentive audiences, at least
Oh
checking
man.
the music.
Yeah, I remember my first trip. It was to Paris, and it was amazing because you read when you decide to become part of this kind of music and this lifestyle. To go to France is really one of the good introduct introduct um, introduction places because you heard about so many great things there and the culture and the artists that you see maybe why they stayed, you know, the treatment, um, the medical care. It's a lot of things. So congratulations on that. And I'm just, I'm okay, man. I got some things that have transpired in the beginning of the year. As I said, most of the time, my trips out abroad, I went to Australia in September. I went to Russia in September. I went to a lot of places toward the end of the year. But looks like this year starting off, I have some places I'm going in starting next month. Seattle, I'm going to San Francisco, I'm going to North Carolina, performing my music with my group. So it's something's going on.
Yeah, I mean, going to the West Coast, going down south, you're going to play with players out there, or bring people.
I'm bringing people with me to California. Um, I'm playing with people in Seattle, and I'm playing with people in North Carolina.
Yeah, so it's going to be kind of different bands for each of but that's just what comes with the territory.
This is the world we live in today, due to the fact there are many good players that want to play, and they're not necessarily New York, but all of that has changed. It's not like the 1950s, 60s, 70s, where you always took your own band. Even in the 90s, when I went to Greece, when I wanted to speak about my Robert Glasper years and connections to those new school guys, because I took two bands, one in 98 and one in 99. They would bring you with your band when they spoke to you. How many people is in your band? They didn't say you can't bring anybody, or we got a guy here who can play piano. You brought your band there. That is not the case today. So you have to be adaptable to what the circumstances are because we're talking about airplane tickets and hotels. For some reason, back then that was never a big deal, but it's a big deal now.
Yeah, I mean, that's if we want to make a living, we got to make those sacrifices, and that's fine. That's what it is.
Right,
And I know
definitely.
you're still you did some shows in the city. I know you did a really big show up in Harlem. You're still at Smalls on the
Yeah,
regular and stuff.
right.
How's that
Yeah.
been going?
The Harlem thing became really interesting because that's the home of bebop in New York. Purposely, people may not want to give it its proper, but the history is you can't disrespect the history. Charlie Parker, Sonny Rollins, everybody trained. Art Tatum, that was the hang. That was the Smalls of that day. I spoke to Sonny a lot about what's happening. He became friends with Spike, who was my man. And I remember Spike used to play a lot of Sonny Rollins tunes when I would play at Smalls. I would work there on a regular, like once a month, maybe twice a month. And I used to always respect that. I don't know why he had done that. I think he found out that I was connected to Sonny. But I remember when he first said to me, Sonny, you're Sonny Rollins' God. I had been hanging out. I don't run around telling people that. If you find that out, you got to know me on another level because I knew what that meant to say that. First of all, I'm incriminating myself to be, oh, you're the next Sonny Rollins? No, there's never going to be another Sonny Rollins or Bird or Train. Get that out of your freaking brain. If you grow up knowing these people, I was blessed. My dad was his friend. We became friends after my father passed. As you heard me breaking down in tears, because when I thought about it as I described it, it really hit me that yeah, you became tight with Sonny because he maintained something. I can't call him up and ask him to talk to me. He called me up and kept giving me the indication, man, I'm going to stay in your life. So I want you to play, man. Your dad wants you to play. And I figured that out at a young age to realize the benefits of having a relationship with him playing a horn he gave my father. So my thing is, when Spike said one to me one day, man, is there any way I could meet Sonny? You know, and lo and behold, shortly after that, a concert that came up where they honored him at the Apollo. And I had free tickets for one person. And I wrote on Facebook, I remember, I got a free ticket to go see Sonny Rollins. Everybody and all these people,
You got like thousand messages.
well, not that, but girls were saying, hey, I'm free. I bet you is. I know it's a whole lot of free peoples, but I thought about him because I know what it meant to be a musician, to meet him. And he
You
was
know,
a,
there's so many ways to play this music, and the way you play with your band, it definitely has, you can hear the influences of John Coltrane, that aesthetic, but also, the Sonny Rollins aesthetic. These are things that are, kind of go overlooked in the music today. So
yes,
the fact that you can present that aesthetic on the
yeah,
regular,
yeah.
it really is special.
Well, I thank you. I planned to represent this art form the way I was taught, and that's why. And like I said, I'm running. I want to just make this point. I got Spike. I never forget how he got to meet Sonny. I'm going to segue it because he deserved to meet him. And when he met him, Sonny shook his hand. I told him, Sonny, he's doing something on the music scene. Because Sonny was saying, what's going on the scene? I said, well, the place we normally wind up is small. A lot of clubs will not book us. The Blue Note, the Vanguard, um, Dizzy Coca-Cola has people, but certain places just like certain guys are working in there, smoke, certain clubs, you forget it. You're wasting your time. Um, but he has a club where everybody comes to hang and gets to hear people. Jeff Tain Watts walks in there. All kind of cats walk in there. Actors, rappers. ASAP Rocky came in there. I recorded with this guy stumbling into Smalls. A lot of, so it has a vibe of that reminded him of the history of Minton. So that's why I did the Minton's gig. They were very successful. I'll be back there in March. But yeah, the scene is like the younger people today. I have a good relationship with them. I'm trying to share what I learned from the people that taught me. I'm not a classroom, but Smalls is my classroom. I'm not a teacher. I was in the educational system, but someone decided to have me replaced with his personal family members and his band member. I lost my position as an adjunct professor, which was okay. But the students that I had learned how to play what I taught them, and they would call me and thank me today. Some of them still play, some don't. But yeah, the aesthetic is, you have to demonstrate it and play it. Like you kind of show them how to be. I'm always on time. I try to, I've hired cats. When Spike asked me to run the jam session, he changed the rule. He had it start later, and people hung out later. He wanted it to seemed like he wanted it to start. Like I play like one set, then it's a jam session. Before I used to take a break. I've hired cats. Some really have excelled. Some have disappointed me in the perspective. We've been playing for 6 months. And I don't know how many times you had a gig with anybody for 6 months at a club that's packed every time you come in there, and then there's dozens of people that play your instrument waiting to sit in to play. So, you know, there's a saying about that Art Blakey say, this isn't the post office. I give you a gig, I watch you excel, Some have excelled to the point they're now on my record. Kyle Poole. I didn't really work with Samara in jam sessions, but Samara Joy is on my recording. Just won a fifth Grammy. Keon Harrell was nominated for a Grammy. He used to play in my band. Robert Glasper had six Grammys. What happened when I would have a session where I let you learn my music and then I let you grow in my music. The ones that wound up on record are the ones that have grown the most and kind of they kind of say to me without saying it, I got it. I know what you want. I know how to play with you. And they never lose that. But today it seems like the guys that I've used, and they're all great guys, but it seems like when you decide to change them up, their feelings are hurt. And I get that. But when I came up and you played in somebody's band and they say, hey, I'm going to use a different tenor player next week, fine. You, that doesn't mean you don't like me, but you're in New York. You know how many new cats show up every time you go to a session and you hear them say, who is this? Well, I'm that band leader that says, let me get his number. Let me call him up. Let me see what he sounds like playing my music. Because I don't really play standards so much. I play them, but the goal is to create your legacy off of your music and what you come up with, not somebody else's. And you can play standards and rearrange them, and it's great. I do that. But what kind of got me a little, I replace you. That doesn't mean I don't love you, that you're not playing well. That means I'm checking out the next cat and what you need to do. Don't get offended. Come check me out with the new guy. Check out why would Eric like him? He's different from me.
Do you think though,
Don't
I mean, like I understand what you're saying, but can part of it also be too that the musicians you hire as sidemen like aren't appreciative to a certain extent and they phone in the gig? You know what I mean? Like they're just
you're going in my brain and taking the words before I can say yes. You're not appreciating what I'm doing for you. Are you hiring me? Did you give me a gig and take me on an airplane or take me to a hotel? I'm doing something for you that most guys don't. You can't last 6 months in New York playing the
yeah,
same
it's
thing.
like you call people for gigs to work with you, and not once do they would call you. It's like, well, what have you done? Even like a private event, you know what I mean? Like anything, just
You
show
go,
return the favor to some extent.
you're going into my brain, Abe. I mean, if since you know the answers, should I just not talk? No, yeah, you're no, but there's a couple of gentlemen that have hired the old guy.
Even just once, you know?
No, there's a brother named Michael O'Day. I don't want to single him out, but this cat has turned me on to work. I used to live with him. I was homeless. I lost my place to live. I was living in an apartment, renting a room for a couple of months. And he was one of the people that lived there. And when he wasn't on the road playing with Kenny Garrett or different people, um, Melanie Charles, oh man, some of Joey D, he was with Joey D. He's a great drummer, man. Beautiful spirit. We would talk all the time. And he would turn me on. He turned me on to Arthur's Tavern. I did gigs there. He turned me on to some other gigs, man. And then he just turned me on to something in his hometown. I'm playing with him and some cats in May.
That's awesome.
It's really nice when a young brother takes the older guy and says, "Hey, man, I really want to work with you. I've heard about you. I've seen you play when I was a kid." But see, I got videos on YouTube from 2010, 11. So it's nice. But see, some of the guys today, their feelings get so involved. I wanna hire new people
Yeah, but you know
and
what though?
see.
I will say if they looked you in the looked you in the eye and said, "Eric, I love what you do. I love your music. I love the way you play. I got your back in this
Mm-hmm.
music."
Mm-hmm.
And just know I love, playing with you and
Sure.
I appreciate everything you do for me. I don't think those people, it's probably hard to name those people who would really show that appreciation
You're
because
you're you're absolutely right.
musicians, they're afraid to be that way or something. I don't know.
Well, they didn't have their ass kicked like I did coming up.
Yeah.
Because when you appreciated when an older musician hired you, period, point blank, that was saying that you got something to say to a cat from a generation you were not part of. You've tapped into something that they hear. And these young guys, man, they're great, but very few acknowledge me. And like you just said, help me out. But I'll just say, I give you a chance. After a period of time, I'm listening for growth. I'm listening for expansion. Because see, we got everything recorded. You can go home and watch the live stream. You can record it. I come home. I don't go to turn the TV on. I listen to the damn thing. I get a glass of wine and sit back. Let me see what this stuff sounded like. Now, when I'm impressed, man, but when I'm disappointed, you know, see, the problem that I had when I was hiring Robert Glasper, there's a story of me. I hired him and took him to Greece. The guy didn't have a passport, nothing. Everybody that sees him out here today is just big. And when I met Robert Glasper, he was just like a guy coming in small. Unfortunately, when I got the gig, he was a replacement for a guy named Carlos McKinney who used to play with Elvin Jones and the Elvin Jones Jazz Machine.
And with
Rob,
Kenny Garrett too.
yes, we're talking about some great playing, man. So when I heard about Glasper, because I had to replace him because Betty Carter had died, and the Blue Note decided to give Elvin Jones band her week in November of 1998. Because I remember in a club from Greece, I had gone to Paris in '98, and I got in touch with this club in Greece. They started calling me on the phone. Back then, they would call you. You had to buy like a phone card for international calls. So they started calling me and they said, "We want your band." And I called Carlos. I can't do it, man. Wow, what's up? Bam, I got to play with Elvis. So now I'm calling around. And see, to me, my relationship with Robert was destiny because I called about three or four piano players and all of them were not available. So then I called this cat. He says, call this guy named Robert Glasper. I said, who is that? I never heard of this guy. Robert who? Who's he playing with? Nah, he's a kid in the new school. Really? Okay. I call him up. He answers the phone first ring. Was a good sign because I was calling cats. But the people are asking me for the names for the plane tickets. It's July. The gig's November. They want name. I'm like, well, I gotta get some. I gotta grab who, how, what. So he plays something over the phone. And when I heard it, I could not believe it because it brought up Arthur Raines in my mind, which we haven't even spoken about, which is another amazing guy that was in my life as a mentor. And some of the stuff, like you saying, some of that I got from Arthur, that trying to play the train vibe or the sunny vibe or whatever vibe Joe Hennis, there's certain things you learn from Cat. And I learned some of that from him because he was such a master. But anyway, I called Robert and I said, how you doing? I got this gig, blah, 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 blah. I know I was kind of clear. I said, it's 10 days, we'll be gone. And it was on Thanksgiving holiday. So it was actually the first time he would not be home for his holiday with his mother. So it was like tricky. People want to go home for the holiday. The gig was during Thanksgiving. I think we left on Thanksgiving or the day before. But I heard him on something. I said, man, this guy sounds like this can't be now. Let me talk. So I got him on the phone. He said, yeah, man, I'm available. I said, okay, so it's in Greece, you know. He says, what train do I take to get to the club? I said, train? I said, Greece, like France, Germany. Oh. I said, man, you need to get a passport. Do you have one? No, you have to get a passport, please. And he had some time. I remember we tell the story. He says he thought he had to do it quick. No, he had about 3 months. But the cat did it. I never met him. We never played a tune. After I heard what I heard, I said, I think I can work with this cat. 19 years old. He wasn't on any really records. And to tell you that story definitely would be more time consuming, but I'm trying to shorten it. When I started playing with him, I could see the generation that he was part of were different. Some of these cats were thorough. some of the first guys that I met that were great, and they're now doing great music. Before them was two brothers from Philadelphia, the Lowry brothers, Chris and Wes Lowry. They played with me when they were like 17 or 18 and at a jazz club in Brooklyn called the Flamingo Lounge. I hired his brother Wes, and Wes was advanced, man. He wound up working with me for 4 months. I used to have gigs that had duration. Like if you held the gig down, you kept the gig. So Chris shows up. Now he's on a lot of my new music. He's on my record with Samara. He got a new record. He's on my latest record. He's been working with not only me, but direct rappers, Dr. Dre, and television shows. He's wrote some music, him and his brother. So the young guys back then, to me, had a different outlook on where they were going to take the music because they also had a lot of hip hop around them. I didn't deal with hip hop. I understood it, but I wasn't where I was going. I was too much focused on getting my sound that you hear now, the vibe that I had to do that due to the fact that I had Sonny Rollins every other couple of days. Hey, Eric, how you doing? You know, the reality of I gotta do this for my dad always was prominent in my mind. So, but anyway, the young guys back then didn't stay in my bands that long. They were doing shit, and every time I looked up and was starting to get, I was smart enough to record them. I have a couple of records: Don Vontae McCoy, Brandon Owens, Keon Harrell, Robert Glasper, E.J. Strickland, um, Anthony Wanji's on the record, James Spalding. I made sure to document my stuff. That's why I'm very thorough with my documentation. So I can tell my story and it's the truth. I got video, I got recordings, I got pictures. Yeah, these guys were playing with me and I documented it. But
You
today's
know, we need
guys,
to do, we have to do like a long form interview, but in person.
okay. Well, I wanted to say most of the guys back then, the reason I replaced them, because they couldn't work with me anymore. They got better gigs. I'm not seeing that with these guys. They play with me and I think they think I got this gig. Yeah, for now. But if you don't improve, I'm gonna have to listen to hire this cat because there's a lot of young guys that are my friends now, 20, 19, 20. They come to my session every week. They know my songs. They want to play with me. They text me. It would be such a great thing to play with you one night. I'm like, that's beautiful. But the cats that are in my bands don't realize you got to hold your line. So if anything, don't be so sensitive if a guy hires you. If an older guy hires you, revere him, honor him, because what I'm showing you, you're not going to get from pretty much a lot of cats. And I'm honored that I'm allowed to do that. So that's why I try to keep switching it up.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, it's all about we're all part of this world, and it's all about energy you give and you put back. If it just stays stagnant, it's not gonna like you're talking about. Like, I hope my podcast can be like almost like the Smalls of podcasts because I want young people to come on, but I want people who have been in the business for a while to come on too because it's all energy you put back in. Younger people, older people. I think a lot of people just jazz musicians are afraid to like almost they feel too soft if they show that appreciation. I don't
I,
know.
I tell people I love them
Yeah.
to their face. I love
Hmm.
you. You're my man. You got to tell the truth, man. Don't, I don't know who's guiding you. You got to be able to look something, man. I love you, man. You help me out, man. I play with you. You make me feel good. You make me feel like life is worth living. We're living in some crazy shit right now.
Hmm.
But these young, I don't know what to tell them. I tell them. I'm not scared to say it. It's how I feel. And I take my music that way. So, I love Robin and them. I love how he's evolved. I'm proud of him. I told him when he was coming up, when he was trying this hip hop, and it's amazing. You probably seen me in a lot of pictures with him, with his wife. I told him when he was trying it out, what he was doing, man, do your thing, man. You're not. He told me I don't want to just record Autumn Leaves, and Art Tatum on it, Herbie. He said I just feel like I think what it is, he got a connection from the hip hop guys that he didn't get in jazz. That is a camaraderie.
Yeah, the
They're
camaraderie, the
they're different. With jazz, we,
brotherhood.
we got all this ego. got all this. I mean, I've been around the greatest. I try to suppress all that kind of shit in my mind because I'm not the greatest. I do what I do. I grew up, like I told you, I grew up with guns pulled on me. It was hard life just to live. Fuck playing music. So now playing music is like a joy to me. But I want the cats to realize if I'm replacing you, it's not because you can't play and I don't, you got to get better. Don't get bitter. Get better.
Yeah, and I think, when you listen to like Elvin Jones play with John Coltrane or listen to Jimmy Garrison, like in his band, like these people would have died for the music. You know what I mean?
There are people that did die for it
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
that were great. Lee Morgan's dead over, you know, don't cheat on your girlfriend. These are lessons. That's a jazz thing, but that is something I learned. I remember when I had a little, I'm going to even segue, I had a little thing with a chick. I met another chick, and one chick that I was with said, I know you're going to do something with her. He's telling me. I said, well, I'm not. I'm going to Europe, just do some gigs. She was right. It did happen. And when I came home, I had to look her in her. I said, I'd like to discuss this. You were right. I'm apologizing. We can continue this thing, or we could call it a day. I respect you. You were right. You told me this was going to happen. I didn't believe it. It winds up happening. We moved on. You have to tell the truth, man. Be truthful in your life. You'll be truthful in your music. I know a guy that lies about everything. He's always saying he's done this, he's done this. Forget all the people that he's talking about, he worked with. There's no recording, there's no picture. You're going on the road with, I'm going to say these are Grammy named people. You went on tour with this person and you played with them and you don't have a freaking photograph. You're playing with this amazing world renowned name. Robert Glasper was not known. When I took my first band to Greece as a band leader, I went and bought the little bullshit camera in the store. There wasn't no phone. I said, man, you're going to Greece, Athens, Greece with your band. I want to take a picture when I get off the airplane with my band. We are in Athens. I'm going to get as many pictures. This is my history. I don't got to tell you I went there. Go to Instagram. You'll see the pictures. You'll see Robert at 19 and Don Vonte and you, Brandon Owens. You know, tell the truth in your
Yeah, and
life.
I know, but I think you're 100% right because that's how I mean, I discovered your music through those documents, that documentation, you know?
Hey, man, people are going to try to say he was this. No, I can tell my story
Yeah.
and I can do it with my own videos and the people. And it amazes people like Rob, beautiful guy, not to over, he's at the club out in Rob Tober. That's the Blue Note and this year we were supposed to do something because it's the 25th year anniversary of that recording that I took him to Greece. This was the 25th year. And I meant to do something. We're going to do something. But what got me was he talked about coming to Smalls after his gig. Said, Eric, I can maybe come over. And then he started coming. And all the people in Smalls saw him at my gig and how he treated me. I sang happy birthday to his wife. He brought all the people, Stokely, the Grammy nominated singer Ray, to my gig. His boys, Bernice, Terrence Martin. You know, that's because I always treated this cat like you're gonna be fine, man. You don't gotta be this way and that way. A lot of cats hate on him. That's their problem. But what he's done musically is created a new sound. You don't have to like it, but look at a month at the Blue Note for 10 years. Something
Something's right, exactly.
something's working. It's hard to get a weekend, bro, in playing jazz.
It's hard to get a
So
night,
yeah.
you know?
So, but my point is that treat people nice, man. You never know who's gonna become what. There's no way he knew what he is now. There's no way you could have told him he's gonna be this kind of impresario helping these guys and all of these are his school friends. They're all his school friends. And I know this because like I said, when I was hiring, most of those guys I got like this gig 6 months, they could have never did 6 months with me small because they started getting hurt, started getting gigs, started playing in other people's bands. To Otis Brown, a lot of these cats, all these drummers. I met Chris Dave, all these guys that he works with. He's been knowing them since he was a kid, and he's an only child, which my mind tells me they're like his family, his extended brothers. And when you got guys you can joke at, because he makes jokes about them a lot. One time somebody said, he was making a joke about you. I said, what kind of joke? He was imitating you, kind of walking funny because my knees. I said, that's love. That's a sign of love from him. If he talks about me,
Yeah.
because I met a lot of cats. I'm on a train in New Jersey, and I forget what year. And this guy says, "You're Eric Wyatt." Yeah. You took Robert Glasper to Greece when he was in college. Who told you that? Robert told me. I said, really? Yeah. Wow. This was I can't even remember how many years ago. Prior that he was already doing he was becoming famous. So you don't know what your effect is on certain cats when you treat
Yeah,
them
and
a
I'm
certain
sure like
way.
if the time comes where it's like you guys, do something again to you'll be open to it.
Oh no, 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 no. We've already discussed all of that. That's just a timing issue.
Yeah.
And for all the guys that say, why don't you play with him? Robert, I'm like the guy that I'm like my age and his age. I'm like the coach.
Yeah.
I'm not the teammate. He didn't know pretty much nothing about shit. When he came to New York, he didn't have a passport. How you gonna travel and go around the world? You ain't got a passport. So all this stuff, I look at them. I said, man, he never put you. He don't. I didn't. I had never had expectations to play with his band. The guys of his generation play with his band. I didn't play with Sonny Rollins and Joe Henderson and Melvin. I would have loved to, but they had people that they like, that know their vibe. And so for all the cats that, man, no, he doesn't have to. I put him on my recording. I repeat, we've talked about projects. Somebody dropped the ball. Like I told you, we were supposed to do something 2 years ago because someone suggested to me, I want to produce this, da da da. Can you get this thing? Sure. I ran it on Rob. He was on a plane going to Japan. I was texting him. And I will never forget he wrote, I normally don't do this, but for you, Eric, I'll do it. You know you, my man.
Yeah. No, that's beautifully said. Eric, I mean, we're gonna have to do a long form interview because we're about out of time, but I know you
There
got
we
some
go.
stuff going on in
Yeah.
in you're going to the West Coast, you're going down south, and this is it's great. Let that be known, just be truthful, but but express your gratitude because if someone calls you, that's don't
It's
take it
something that,
lightly when someone calls you,
no, 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 they don't. And I appreciate you because you seem to understand this stuff. I'm new to knowing you, but you seem to have a concept that you was taught this way. These young guys, sometime they do, and probably after they see this, they're definitely going to probably do. But I see Stacy Dillon, beautiful cat, great player. I remember when I'm gonna end it on this. I remember when somebody said, "Hey man, there's a guy in town called Stacy Dillon. He's calling his band Brooklyn Circle
Yeah.
because I'm a Brooklyn guy." He says, "What you think?" I said, "Can he play?" Yeah. What the fuck do I get? I just said, "Can he play?"
Yeah.
And then we became friends, and I heard him play. And I was like, "Oh, this is the cat from Muskegon, Detroit, or Michigan, where this, that." And I saw him play one night at Dizzy's with some cats I will rename nameless. He pretty much piped these guys in my mind, and he's not getting what they get. But it's really weird, man.
He's a beast.
Well, he has perfect pitch, so he's got a helpful. I don't know if I'm giving away his secret, but if you have perfect pitch, it means whatever you hear, you can't really fuck up.
Yeah.
You can't get lost because your brain will direct you to the note.
I have to talk to him too. I have to do an interview with him. Hopefully I'll be able to arrange that. You just planted that
Yeah,
seed.
definitely. No, he's somebody that like, people would even. You can't convince me to hate on somebody because I don't think of the hate. My thing is about love and trying to share. That's why I share my bandstand. And I'll leave you on this. I was used to play in Brooklyn with Arthur Raines. An old black guy got on the stage and said, "The mark of a star is one who shares his stage." I'm not saying I'm a star, but I share my stage. I've never been opposed to it. and I want to hear what you got to say. If you got something to say, and that's just how I live my life by that.
Beautiful.